vocab word that, if you had a great 8th grade math teacher last year, hopefully they went over this with you. If not, that's why you got me. But today, instead of dealing with just one equation, we get to deal with 2. Yay, twice the fun. All right, so we today are dealing with 2 or more equations. Yes, there is such a thing as more than 2 when you get to Algebra 2, especially those of you guys that are going to be doing upper level math. You might do 3 equations, 4 equations, but think about how much smarter you're going to be once you do. All right, there's a word for 2 or more equations. Everybody zoom in and write this down. It is called a system. Because those 2 or more equations are working together. We're dealing with 2 or more. We are dealing with a system because those 2 individual equations work together to form a system. Now, every equation that we're going to start off with is in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. There's a really cheesy YouTube video to that tune that, sorry, it's always in my head. It's always going to be there. I won't even charge you extra for this entertainment that you're getting right now from my singing. All right, so remember that the B stands for the y-intercept. If you don't remember what the y-intercept is, don't worry. I'll remind you of that in just a minute. Okay, and the slope is the letter M. If you don't remember what the slope tells you, again, don't worry. That's why we're doing this. I'm going to remind you of that. But the reason it's called slope-intercept form is because it gives you the slope and it gives you the y-intercept. And every equation that we will start graphing is in that format. Okay? So I'm going to kind of stretch out here a little bit and look at my system over here on the left-hand side. I know it's a system because there's 2 of them. In your textbook, which we do have to do a little bit today, I'm sorry, guys, I hate it as probably more than you do. There's these little, sometimes they put the equations in these little like bracket thingies that I can't draw. So just so when you see that later, you'll know what that's about. It's just telling them it's together. So I'm going to look at the first equation and the B. So even though the B stands for a Greek word that I really should know, but I don't remember what that Greek word is, I like the fact that the B reminds me that when I am graphing a line, this is where I begin, okay? And this is the y-intercept. Where's the y-axis? The y-axis is here, right? So, because this is a positive 7, that means I need a dot right there on the positive 7 on the y-axis, otherwise known as a coordinate. I'm really bad about saying dot instead of coordinate. So where did I get that 7 from? I got it right there from the y-axis. I'm getting ready to do something wrong. It's in red. Okay, because I see kids do this all the time. I see people put that number on the x-axis instead of the y-axis. This is called the y-intercept because it hits the y-axis. So please don't make that mistake, okay? So B, my beginning point, is right there. Now I need to turn my attention to the slope. And remember that we use the letter M. Actually, I'm going to write it over here to represent the slope. I do know what the letter M stands for. That stands for a French word that means climb because, you know, like a mountain has a slope. So it's a French word that means climb, which is why we use it for slope because it's some French dude who came up with this stuff. So how do I know what direction that graph is going to move in? Well, there's a negative in front of that graph, or I'm sorry, in front of that slope. And in case we have forgotten what a negative slope looks like, we always read a graph from left to right. So imagine that you've got like a person sitting up here at the top, and is he getting ready to climb a mountain, or is he getting ready to slide down a slide? He's getting ready to slide down a slide, and he's always facing that way, okay? So this is what a negative slope looks like. So in a minute, when I graph my line, it's going to be going down. But I need to know exactly how much it's going down. And if you don't remember, no big deal. That's why I'm here. Hopefully, the word rise and run means something to us from slope. So the top number tells you how much your line is going up and down. That's why it's called the rise. And then the bottom number tells you how much it's moving horizontally. Years ago, so one of my students actually made this a while back. It's like the balloon is associated with the rise, and we've got our little person right here who's running that way. So to help you remember that rise is your vertical distance, run is your horizontal distance. In case you are a visual person, that might help you. So my rise, in this case, I'm going to draw what's called a slope triangle, and I'm going to label it with my rise, which is 1. Ooh, I didn't draw that very neatly. Sometimes my handwriting is so bad. It's a really good thing you guys don't have to read my words too much. And my run is 2. So what am I going to do with that rise and that run that I know is going in a negative direction? I'm going to go to my B. I'm going to go to my beginning point. I'm going to go to my beginning point. And since my rise is 1, I'm going to go down 1. And then I'm going to go over to the right 2. So that tells me where my next coordinate is going to be placed. You're getting ready to do a delta math assignment where you only have to put 2 coordinates on the graph. But if you're graphing by hand, like we are for the notes, pretty much every math teacher in the world is going to tell you that you need 3 coordinates in order to make sure they line up right. So take your rise and your run and give yourself another little coordinate to go by. And then use that straight edge. Please don't use your free hand. And give yourself a nice long line that goes all the way across the graph. And that has arrows on it. I'm going to be petty when you guys do this by hand and make you, well, can't make you do anything, I guess, but grade will be tied to make sure your line goes all the way across the graph, and I promise you're going to see a good reason in just a minute. So is slope-intercept form kind of coming back to us a little bit? B, your beginning point. Use your slope to figure out what direction the line is moving in. And all right, this is a system, though. So now we don't have, you know what we're doing. That doesn't surprise me because you're pretty freaking with it. All right, so our beginning point now is going to be at -5. I'm getting ready to write something wrong. Don't put it here. That is your x-axis. This is your y-intercept. Whenever it's in slope-intercept form, it's always the y-intercept. So everybody should have a little dot right there at -5. How did I know I needed to go to -5? Because there's a minus in front of that 5. Now that we're in big kid math, remember that a negative and subtraction mean the same thing. Okay? Now I need to decide what direction my line is moving in. I'm going to zoom in here for a moment. Okay? So my slope. This time, it's moving in you already said it, you stole my thunder, but I love it. I'm here for it. Okay? That's a positive slope. If I put a person here again, is he getting ready to scale up a mountain or is he getting ready to slide down? He's getting ready to go up. That's how you know that's what a positive slope means. If you're a visual person like me, it's cheesy, but it kind of works. Double check and make sure, like, okay, I'm going to put a person on the left. Okay. And then, of course, my rise is 3. And my run is 2. So I'm going to use that information. I'm going to pause here for 1 second, though, to make sure you've got it before I zoom back down to the graph. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the graph, and I'm going to bring my slope down here. I'm just going to recopy it down here so it makes it a little bit easier. So because my rise is 3, my run is 2, and it's going in a positive direction, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 2. Oh, I suck. I went up 4 instead of 3. Sorry. Okay, so my next coordinate should be right here. And then I went up 3 and over 2 again. Again, on the Delta math assignment you're getting ready to do, you're not going to have to do 3 coordinates, but when we're doing it by hand, we want to make sure we do that. And then I'm going to make it a nice straight line all the way across the graph. Now, here's the reason I'm getting ready to be petty about making sure that you actually, like, make your line nice and long, okay? Because the whole point, get it? Point, okay. The point of doing this is to see, okay, instead of crossing, can we use a different word? What's the big kid word for where they cross? If you don't remember, it starts with an I. Intersect. So this is where they intersect, and the math word for that is the solution. So that's the place where my X and my Y intersect or cross. And remember that we write the X coordinate first and the Y coordinate second. So if I'm looking at my graph, my X coordinate is a 6. My Y coordinate is a 4. So friends, the reason that I'm going to be petty and ask you to write your lines nice and long is because you're trying to see where they intersect. If you give me like a short, puny little line, you might not see where they intersect. And so you're going to miss out on the whole point. Okay? Number 2, I'm going to ask you to try to graph it yourself first. However, number 2 is a little tricky. So I'm going to tell you something first. So I think it's pretty clear you guys know what to do for your B, for your beginning point. But the slope for these two might be a little bit tricky. So I want to make sure we talk about those. Okay, so remember, my one on the left, is this one a positive or a negative slope? It's a negative slope. But my issue is that I need 2 numbers because I need a rise and a run. Good morning, Boo. So if there is no number, or if there aren't 2 numbers, there's an expression that I actually stole from Coach Morton, the football coach at Ballard, when he and I taught together. Because we need 2 numbers for our rise and our run. And he had this little expression that said, you need a number? I got 1 for you. And I know, isn't that good? Like, it's really good. So if you need a rise and a run, stick a 1 underneath it. Using that idea, what do you think? Because now we don't have a number at all in front of the X. You need a number? I got 1 for you. Okay, there is a hidden 1 in front of that X, and we still need a second number, so I got 1 for you. All right, so my beginning point for the first one is at -2, And then I'm going to zoom in here to make sure we get our rise and our run right. So it's going down because it's a negative slope. My rise is -2. My run, or 2, I guess I should say. My run is 1. So from my beginning point, I should be going down 2 over 1. Then I need to go down 2 over 1 again. And make my line nice and straight and neat right here. Except I know I just screwed that up. Sorry, I don't have a ruler like you guys do. It's a little harder for me. There we go. Should go right there. So if you got it, make sure you draw your arrows. And for my second one, my beginning point is +1. And my slope is 1 over 1, and it's going up. So I need to go up 1 and over 1, up 1 and over 1. So when I go to connect, I got a nice straight line. And the whole point, even if you don't think it's funny, I think it's hilarious. The whole point is where they intersect right here. And so our solution is where they intersect, which you do your x first and your y second. So it's -1 and 0. Okay, so you actually, I forgot to show you this. You do not have to worry about ever submitting a wrong answer to me when you're doing a problem like this. You're probably going to get tired of me talking about the Desmos graphing calculator, but I'm going to keep talking about it because it's so helpful. Look, you can literally just type the equations right into the equation editor. This is number 1, and it will show you where they cross. So you know whether or not you're doing it correctly. If you don't remember how to put an equation in there, I'll help you. But look, problem number 1, the intersection point was 6, 4. Look, 6, 4. You don't even need to worry about making a mistake because you can use that calculator to check it and make sure that you got it right. So please use that graphing calculator too. I'll remind you how to get there